What advice do you have for a young person who desires to become a professional athlete? Why are you laughing?
Because we just talked about like
The
building the base
baseball
and
and
then
basics and
going to that. So it's just so funny and cool how it lines up
yeah.
to that. Tyler, great question. A lot of kids have that dream of becoming a professional athlete, and it's such a beautiful dream to have. And some of the statistics on it can really crush a kid's dream.
Mhm.
And so I tend not to share those
Yeah.
with them. I tend to say, "Hey, that's awesome. Like that's so cool. And guess what? You can do that. Are you ready to work?
Yeah.
Are you ready to put the work in that is required of that?" So Tyler, this can happen. I don't know what age, or maybe you're asking for your daughter or son or something
Yeah.
like that, but I think to become a professional athlete, one, you have to fall in love with what the sport is. You
Mhm.
have to love the process of it because you're going to be putting a lot of hours into it. This whole idea of sports specialization came out after Malcolm Gladwell wrote the book Outliers and found that it takes 10,000 hours of dedicated or deliberate practice to become an expert in something. Note that this was in violin,
Mhm.
violinists, and musicians, but then that made its way into the sports world that people need to get 10,000 hours before they can become an expert. So the younger that you can get your 10,000 hours in, the more likely you can make it to the pro levels. So now kids are playing the same sport year round, no break, camps, travel teams,
Mm.
school, and they're getting way overloaded. They're getting injuries, and they don't even get a chance to become a pro athlete because they're dealing with injuries and they're in rehab when they're 13, 14, and 15 years old instead of loving the sport.
Mhm.
That 10,000 hours, I do think it's true that you need it. But what people have forgotten is that it doesn't need to be this dedicated practice with a coach screaming at you. It can be in the driveway, throwing up a hook shot, yelling Kareem. It
Mhm.
can be writing plays in a notebook. It can be playing Madden. Yes, it can be playing a video game because
Mhm.
you're learning the game. You're
Mhm.
learning how to set up plays. You're learning how people move, and you're still involved in the process. So not saying like, yeah, to become a pro athlete, play 10,000 hours of video games, but it doesn't need to be all practice that you're having a coach yelling at you
Mhm.
and telling you that you need to do this to make it to the next level. Because you know what? Why don't we look at the top level of professional athletes? When did Patrick Mahomes specialize in football? Like, he wanted to play baseball because
Yeah.
his dad was a professional baseball player, so he wanted to play baseball. And then in college, he kind of shifted more towards football, and now look at him. But
Mhm.
it's key to have variety. It's key that you're a kid, and nowadays, like that doesn't mean just watching TV and playing video games, but go ride your bike with your friends.
Mhm.
Is that going to help your performance when you get to your sport? Yeah, you're building up aerobic capacity. Playing basketball in the driveway with your friends. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Like go full contact. Don't call fouls. Learn how to play through that. Like
Mhm.
that stuff will translate into when you're on the court of getting an and one. And not just throwing up a lame shot and one and not making it, but like actually working through contact. So all those things will add up to it. And I think, there is the reality of like, yeah, at some point you do have to specialize. If you want to be a professional gymnast or figure skater, you have to specialize way younger
Mhm.
in life than if you want to be pro basketball or baseball or football or soccer or things like that. So don't specialize too early if you want to do those sports. If you want to gymnast, figure skate, specialize early because
Mhm.
the peak age is much greater. So there's a lot of examples that we could go into, but I think it's a beautiful dream.
Mhm.
I think it takes a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
It takes the timing, it takes resources, and never think that you can't do it if you put the work in. Leighton Vander Esch with the Cowboys, beautiful story. Grew up in a very small town in Idaho. They played like 8-man football. I think they had like 11 or 15 people in their school.
Mhm.
He didn't get recognized much. Went to Boise State, walked on, ended up getting a scholarship, ended up getting drafted to the Dallas Cowboys as the middle linebacker.
Mhm.
So he didn't have access to travel football teams, or shout out to Snoop Dogg playing on Snoop Dogg's team.
Yeah.
Like he just played in his town and just worked hard and kept working and kept working. Didn't have access to state of the art gyms, state of the art trainers. He's worked.
Mhm.
Just put in physical work and loved the game. And he loved the game so much that he went to college and said, I'm going to walk on the team because I want to play.
Mhm.
And got a starting position and then just kept falling in love with the game. And, professional athletes really start to fall out of the game when they don't love it
Mhm.
anymore. When it becomes a business, they start to lose the love for it. And you have to teach them, hey, remember when it was raining out and you're out just shooting jumpers?
Mhm.
Remember that smell of the grass on the first cut of the season? Remember being on the baseball field and not stepping on the line and smelling hot dogs coming
Mhm.
in? Remember those things that allowed you to fall in love with that. And as a kid, as a young athlete, that's the key, is
Mhm.
that you are falling in love with it and you're passionate about it, that you're doing the work because you want to be doing the work versus someone forcing you
Mhm.
to do it.
Yeah, I think as a kid, I remember being in 5th grade, and in 5th grade, we got to write, like, who do you want to be when you grow up or whatever. And I wrote I wanted to be like a model, an actress, and a singer because I loved Disney and I loved like these actresses that could also sing and model. Like, I just thought it was so cool when I was in 5th grade. But I also wanted to be in the WNBA. I don't know how I could do both at the same time, but in my 5th grade mind, I really believed that I could.
Yeah.
Mind you, I'm 5'4", and I'm good at basketball, but like not the greatest. And anyways, like 5'4", you usually don't model when you're 5'4" either. So never took a drama class, but like these dreams are so pure intention. And I just want to echo the part of falling in love with it because I think sometimes kids get in this idea of like, oh, I want to be a professional whatever player, football player, basketball, whatever. And they have the dream in elementary school. And then they go up to middle school and they start playing a little more competitively. And they still have the dream, but then maybe they're exposed to social media or whatever. So then they see like, oh, that's where I can make money too. And they kind of get in this mode of like, well, that's where I'm going to make money. That's where I'm going to make money. I remember coaching these basketball players here in Syracuse, and they were like, man, I just want to be a professional basketball player because then I can buy my mom a house. And it's like, that's a beautiful thing. Like, you want to buy your mom a house, it's great motivation, but you need to make sure you're still in love with the game because if you're not in love with it, you're not going to work hard. And I hesitate saying this because you do need to work hard, but you actually need to work harder than you think you need to work. But I don't want to say like you have to work harder than you think you need to work and then you become like stressed out about putting in the work because if you think you're working hard in middle school, you may be, but you're not.
Yeah.
Like you there is so much more to come. So falling in love with the hard work is so important because then you get like hungry for it, right? But at the same time, like don't let like don't let hard work intimidate you, I guess is
Yeah.
what I'm striving to get at because if you're already being intimidated, like that internal load is not going to help you long term. And then you may not be able to be a professional athlete because you don't have healthy tools to work on your internal load because you're allowing yourself to be so stressed out in 7th grade about if you're going to be an NFL player and you're
Right.
not in 7th grade. So, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, there's so much to elaborate on, and I don't want to go too much into the research, but there's so much data on injuries that happen when too much stress is put on these kiddos. And
Mm-hmm.
we see it's terrible. We see this in AAU all the time. It's just parents wanting to live their dream through their kid
Yeah.
and forcing them to do these things, and you can tell the kid's just not in it.
Mm.
It's like, I know you want them to be a pro athlete, but have you asked them if
Yeah.
they want to be a pro athlete? And I will say we all start, like, I had a dream of playing in the NFL, and pure dream. And then you get to high school, and you go through these levels. I played Pop Warner my whole life. I get to modified, and we're playing. It's good. And then we get to varsity, and I'm a 10th grader, and worked my way up to start as a 10th grader on the varsity team. And I won't lie, there was games I was scared
Got smacked
to go play.
around.
Oh, this team has an all-state middle linebacker, and we're going to start running slants this week. Great. Yeah, I'm real excited to take a hit from this all-state linebacker who's gotten 5 D1 offers already. Like,
I'm 15 years old and 115 pounds.
yeah, like, I just stopped wrestling. I'm starting to put some weight on, and this is what we're gonna do. So, like,
Yeah.
there was times my sophomore year that I'd go out on the field and I was like, oh man, I hope I make it out of this one, right? And it happened to be the same year that I fractured my leg, which was probably because of the fear
Yeah.
that I had in that. My junior year, I come back, I'm bigger, I'm stronger. I know the speed of the game now because guess what? From modified to varsity, there's a big jump in speed.
Mhm.
So it's faster. I'm more prepped for it. I'm excited. I play extremely well. My senior year, oh, I got this. Like, I am bulked up. I'm faster. I know the speed of the game and dominated. Like, my senior year was so much fun.
Mhm.
But I look back and my sophomore year was not that. Guess what? Get to college, not in football, but in basketball, whole new level
Mhm.
of playing. So you keep going through this process of thinking that you're the man
Yeah.
to being humbled at how great people are. And then you have that pivotal choice to make. I can be at that level. I just need to work way harder
Mhm.
to get to where that person's at because they've already put that work in to get there. Or you go, that's a little too hard.
Mhm.
I don't think I want to do 2 to 3 sessions a day or 4 sessions a day. I don't think I want to drink 4 protein shakes a day
Mhm.
to get to that level. So you make that choice, but make it out of really what you want.
Yeah.
Like, don't be afraid of the work. And if you are afraid of the work, like, I get it, but I would ask the question, do you really love the sport?
Mhm.
And then guess what? The higher levels you get, the more politics there are. Like,
Mhm.
there's politics in young sports, youth sports for sure. As you get to the next level and the next level, there's even more.
Mhm.
So you have to really remember your why and your passion for doing this in order to get through all those obstacles.
Of course.
There's a reason that pro basketball, pro football, baseball, gymnastics, and all that is limited to the top 0.1%, and
Mhm.
that's being generous. And it's because they were willing to put that. Even the people that say, "Oh, I'm just talented,"
Mm.
like, no, you went through some things and you put some work in
Yeah.
to get to where you're at. And last point I'll make is the Basketball Hall of Fame. There's a beautiful exhibit for Kobe Bryant, and he wrote the poem "Dear Basketball," and they had a illustrator kind of write it, and the whole poem was about how much he loves the game
Mm.
and how much that he's given to the game, but how much the game has given back to him.
Mhm.
And it's such a emotional poem
Mm.
and video when you watch that because it's basically him stepping away from basketball even though he loves it, but he knows that it's the best thing because his body's not keeping up with it anymore. But he doesn't want to,
Mhm.
but he knows that it's time
Yeah.
to do that. And you want to talk about work ethic and being, I won't say the GOAT, but one of the best of all time, like in that top 3 to 5 category. Look at what that man
Yeah.
did. 4:30 a.m. workouts, and then into practice, and then family time, and then we work out again afterwards until 11 p.m. and then get up and do that again. And why? Because he loved the game.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
I'd love to see someone work harder than Kobe Bryant, but like, I'm sure there may be some, but it's pretty close. And in having that mentality that you're gonna work hard, like, that's so important.